This video is sponsored by Displate.
Hey X,
over the last few decades, open world games have made incredible strides. With each generation, the worlds get bigger.
Dude, we've seen so many of this Cyberpunk shit. Remember the one we watched last time?
As computing power absolutely rocketed, open world games blazed the path for how it could be put to use. And by 2013, games were recreating cities like LA and San Francisco in jaw-dropping details. It was evident these games were the future, and that future was looking great. Then something started happening. See, the promises kept getting bigger, the trailers more and more impressive. But when it came to the actual games, well, something was off. Destiny looked amazing, but then its entire story was gouged out and repackaged as paid DLC.
You're not wrong.
No Man's Sky looked incredible, but when it launched, every trailer turned out to be an outright lie. Okay.
Yeah, but they fixed it. They fixed it.
Jesus Christ. The tech was improving, but the games somehow seemed to be getting worse. And after countless disappointments, gamers were left famished.
Oh no,
but
the
in
Watch Dogs,
2012,
oh jeez.
a small development studio in Poland set out on a project that would change everything. It was to be the most ambitious open-world RPG ever made. It ticked every box there was. Fully dynamic missions, a bustling open world, complete customization. Be anyone, do anything.
Guys,
Cyberpunked 20.
Guys, there's only one last hope in this chat, guys. What is it? Tell me. There's only one shining light in the dark. What is it? Say it. Say it. Say it, motherfucker. I'm reading the chat. GTA 6. That's the one.
77.
That's the one. Yep. GTA 6.
It's early 2015. For the last few years, Todd Howard and the boys at Bethesda had been absolutely smashing sales numbers and raking in hundreds of Game of the Year awards in the process. Todd had built an open world empire. But now, he was finishing up his next blockbuster game, Fallout 4, set to release at the end of the year. However, at the same time, a relatively obscure developer based in Poland is doing the same thing. For the last few months, CD Projekt Red had been putting the finishing touches on the third installment of their open-world fantasy series. It had been 3.5 years of blood, sweat and tears, but now things were finally wrapping up.
I mean, they went hard with this one though.
In May 2015, The Witcher 3 is set to release. CD Projekt Red's management sits round. Review copies had been sent out a few weeks prior, and the reviews were expected at any moment. The suspense was palpable. But eventually, the reviews come in, and the game is absolutely staggering. It slaps with 9s and 10s across the board, and the game flies off shelves everywhere. Millions of dollars of profits are conjured almost instantly. Management is euphoric. Impressive. But wait, we have a game too. And the massively anticipated Fallout 4 is released a few months later.
Fallout 4 went harder than that.
It does very well, and also gets raving reviews.
Oh, wait a minute.
2015's Game Awards are tense. Game devs from all around the world are sat down, anxiously waiting for the big one, Game of the Year. Todd had won the majority of the Game of the Year awards for the last 4 games he directed, and he was keen to win them for this one too. The developers sit through hours of obscure awards.
True.
But eventually, Game of the Year is announced.
Not wrong though. I don't remember what it was at the time.
The Witcher 3.
Ooh, Todd.
In fact, it ends the year winning the most Game of the Year awards ever. Bethesda's streak of wins burned to ashes. Todd was furious. Put the gun down, Todd.
Jesus.
And while the rest of the industry turns to repackaging free mods into paid DLC, enormous graphical downgrades.
Guys, it didn't matter, chat. It didn't matter because at the time it was like, dude, don't worry, man. Fallout 76 is coming. and it's gonna
CD
fucking
Projekt
fly off the
Red
shelves.
gets to work on 2
Guys,
massive
thought it was on a
expansion
master
packs,
plan.
big enough to be a whole game of their own. And turns out, they're half the price of Fallout 4's. Also, did someone say free DLC? People were in love. Move after move, everything CD Projekt did was just right. After 28 years in the business, they'd finally made it.
Oh, that's nice. Oh no.
So new fans of the studio rush to see their next project. Another Witcher? No. A different fantasy franchise? Also no.
Why not?
Eventually, they find themselves on a video uploaded a couple of years prior. Cyberpunk 2077. A teaser trailer for CD Projekt Red's next game. Looks cool.
Looks pretty
Details on it are sparse. But here's what we know. It was more ambitious than The Witcher 3 on every single front, and was basically a futuristic RPG version of GTA. Sign me up. The release date? Well, when it was ready.
Ooh,
Okay.
fancy.
So people wait. And wait. And wait. It's now 2017, and after 2 years of waiting, there's still no word. And the game, along with the studio, drifts back into obscurity.
Shit.
But finally, in 2018, we get something. An official worldwide trailer debuts at E3, and we get our first glimpse.
Shit.
The hype is resurrected instantly. But not for long. Turns out, Todd is also at E3, and he has a little something to show off.
Goddamn, becoming a really
Fallout
old frog soon
76.
to be dead xQc.
The first multiplayer Bethesda Game Studios RPG ever made.
Oh my god.
And it was launching in just a few months. Todd's promises were impressive. Sorry CD Projekt, but there was only one thing to do.
Guys,
And after
he said 14 times the size, and what did he say?
months of
16
excitement,
times
in
the
November
graphics, something like that?
2018, Fallout 76 goes
I don't know what he
live.
says. I don't know what he says.
It didn't quite live up to the hype.
16
Tales
times
of
the
missing
detail. There you
canvas
go.
bags, scuffed merchandise, exploits, and a literal horde of bugs flood online forums and Reddit.
Chat. You know he says you know there he says exploits, right? Right here.
Merchandise, exploits,
Looking downwards will make you go faster, right? You guys, isn't it because of the rendering or some shit, or like the frames? Looking downwards, you'd go
and
way
a literal
faster.
horde of bugs flood online forums and
FPS,
Reddit
yeah,
almost
Jesus,
the second the
man.
game launches. YouTubers jump on the game like a pack of dogs. Bethesda fights back with a few patches. Patches that were almost bigger than the size of the actual game. But they never stood a chance. A god had fallen.
I mean, all the gods are guys, because I feel like this was very telling at the time that all gods were going to fall though. And I feel like, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, all gods fell after that. I feel like almost all of them.
Gamers mourned their death for months, but at this point, open world game developers were dropping like flies.
Almost.
Rockstar had ditched GTA's single-player DLC to sell flying cars and laser guns to 10-year-olds in GTA Online. BioWare's games had regressed about a decade, and something at Bethesda had clearly gone horribly wrong. CD Projekt was the only developer people had left, and they put their full faith in them to deliver on
Internet historian
Cyberpunk
formatting
2077.
W.
And CDPR aimed to do just that. In August 2018, they drop a 50-minute demo of the game, alongside a sea of articles and press releases. It looks mind-blowing. Non-linear missions with tons of choices and branching endings. A game world and storyline that reacts to your actions. Complex community and crowd systems that would make for the most believable city in an open world game to date. Random encounters and events. Player backstories with far-reaching campaign consequences. Explorable buildings with multiple floors. Multiple apartments. An in-depth wanted system and corrupt police. Wall running. Over 1,000 NPCs with their own routines. An online multiplayer added post-launch. And more. And it would be available on every current platform, including Xbox One and PS4. Things were shaping up great. But fast forward a few months,
Stadia anyway?
and at E3 2019, the final bombshell drops.
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
Oh my god, Keanu Reeves!
CD Projekt Red had created something
Oh
incredible.
my!
The graphics were borderline photorealistic. The city, utterly immersive. Even Poland's own government were hyped. It was to be the first quadruple A game, people said. And we'd be able to jump in on April the 16th, 2020.
Quadruple A?
The hype was monumental. Before we get onto that, your room. Are those walls empty? My God. Hold on. What's that? A high quality metal poster for a reasonable price? That's right. This place specialises in one thing. Posters. Posters, posters, posters. 1.4
Guys,
million.
I said a sponsor, guys. Yeah, everybody knows about this.
years'
Display
time.
Pac-Man, cool.
Things were 2012. Development basically
not
just
anymore, though.
consisted of a
Oh,
few
sorry,
dozen
I
people
mean-
throwing ideas around. This goes on for a few years, but in 2016, the rest of CDPR finally jump on board. And most of their work is scrapped right out the game. Okay, so the game's story and gameplay concepts are reworked from the ground up.
Oh.
This means that key game elements are either completely changed or outright scrapped. Now the management at CDPR are still ambitious. This game was going to be a big one, and that meant that it was going to need a lot of work. But that was okay. They had 4 years of development ahead of them. Well managed and executed, this was going to be a breeze.
4 years more.
4 years later, and it's now January 2020, and the game is barely out of alpha. This is just 2 months out from launch. Higher ups realised they should probably actually develop a finished game. So in comes CD Projekt Red's management. Wake the fuck up, game devs. We've got a game to crunch. And so, CDPR's PR team come out to the public. Sorry lads,
Jesus.
it's not quite ready yet. Come
Yeah,
back
no
in a few
shit.
months' time. It was okay. They
Thanks,
still had a
thank
lot
you
of
so much,
development
Sean.
on their plate, but now they had more time. If everything goes according to plan, they should be able to get this thing out relatively polished. Sorry fellas, the country's closed. Come back in a few months' time. Dear God. Alright, less than 6 months left of development time and now everyone's working from home. Not exactly ideal. Right boys, we're gonna have to cut some corners here.
Fan project
Multiple
names up on it.
apartments? Scrap them. Wall running? Not important. The children? Forget them.
Oh.
See those adults? Downsize them. That looks
Huh?
great. And eventually, after months of crunch and a couple more delays, a new release date is in. December 10th, 2020.
Uh-oh.
Early December. The board of directors look at each other, petrified. Their share price had rocketed to over $10 billion, and they were now the most valuable company on the Polish stock exchange.
That's insane.
Poland's president calls CDPR. Their entire economy laid on the back of this game's launch. If it was a
Okay,
flop,
dude.
they'd be executed one by one. They could not cock this up. They couldn't delay again, or they'd miss the holiday sales period. Investors would be furious. But on the other hand, the game was still a bit rough. They eventually come to a conclusion. Launch the game. Development had taken
Oh,
7
come
years and
on.
cost $121 million. But at last, on December the 10th, the world would finally be able to play Cyberpunk 2077.
Uh-oh.
December 9th, one day before launch. Early reviews are looking good. YouTubers and review sites aren't actually allowed to use their own game footage in them, which is a bit strange. But they're saying the game does the impossible.
And I'm
It
scrambling to get a
actually
copy
lives
for my
up to
own.
the hype. That was it. People that hadn't already pre-ordered now had no reason to hold back. And the game racks up around 8 million pre-orders by launch. 7 years of patience, and almost a year of delays on top.
A.
But the wait was finally over. And at 12 AM on December 10th, Cyberpunk launches, and people press play.
Oh, press play, motherfucker! Press play! Guys, I had an early copy, okay? Guys, I still have the fucking GOG or some shit. Guys, what is it called? This fucking piece of shit fucking GOG! Guys, I had to talk to like 5 devs, actual devs of the game. Guys, they had me talk to a higher up dev, some fucking president, personally DM me to actually get the game to fucking launch. It was you had to get a anti-cheat patch, a patch. You had to get somebody to manually activate it. It was so fucking bad. I don't want to talk about
launches and people
one of the
press
worst
play.
days of my fucking life, man. Fuck me.
For PC players with decent rigs, the game runs reasonably well, the story is great, and the graphics are amazing.
Christ, it was so bad.
But stray away from the main missions for 5 minutes, and things start to seem off. Walk with me. We're walking around the most believable city in a video game to date.
Anti-cheat,
and yet that man barely has a face.
copy for the fucking city key.
Over there. Is he really disabled?
People, fucking run!
Look at your own shadow. Does that look normal to you?
Oh
Look
my
at those
god.
people. Anything seen? Off? Look. A car's supposed to fly? Over there. Is that normal? Your inventory. Open it. That look like a katana to you? Is that really an assault rifle? Were you listening to me? Or were you looking at the man with no head? More issues. Incredibly broken armor stats means that dressing like a bin man provides more protection than a full-blown combat suit. Futuristic bulletproof military.
Also, guys, don't say I was bad at the game, okay, guys? We played the entire game with like basic armor from like level 2 or 2nd zone, okay? Motherfucker, we never changed armor. I could not find anywhere armor that was better. Dude,
Bin man provides more
literally
protection than
the
a
whole
full-blown
game
combat suit.
with basic armor.
Futuristic bulletproof military armor? Nah, I'm good, son.
It was not my fault.
The game has a detailed crafting system, but there are a few problems. First up, it's incredibly broken. Every item you pick up or craft on PC adds data to the save file.
Oh my
Great.
god.
However, if that save file exceeds 8 megabytes in size,
8
your save file is
megabytes?
now corrupted and completely unplayable. Players with this issue log on to CDPR forums and ask if there's anything they can do to solve or prevent this issue. Eventually, they receive an answer. Just stop playing the game.
Wait, what?
Eventually, they receive an answer. Just stop playing.
Don't do it. Play the game until the end, then start a new game. Don't continue saving and reloading the same character for too long. Don't craft thousands of items at once. Thousands?
Okay. The visuals of Cyberpunk are generally amazing. However, there are a few issues here as well. See, even though you never actually see yours in-game, Cyberpunk 2077 grants you a plethora of options for your genitals. But wait, turns out there's a bug going round. And those genitals you've just customized are now clipping through every single pair of trousers you can put on. My god. Other visual bugs include headless men, glitchy trees, and a metric
my
ton of
god.
T-posing, and more.
Good luck. Got a feeling we'll be soon.
That's
Then
kinda
there's
cool,
the
actually.
console performance. It's not great. In November 2020, CDPR said old-gen consoles were running surprisingly well. Just under a month later, we got to find out for ourselves. The population of Night City is decreased to the point where it looks almost abandoned. Graphics are absolutely abysmal, and the resolution bounces from 900p to as low as 720p. Even with all of these compromises, the FPS barely manages to hit 25.
Oh, I remember
and
that.
often stoops to as low as 10.
You sexy man, you and chat you
Then
are
there's the
just
rendering
sexy.
issues, paper mache faces. Was 10. Then there's the
Herbo Show.
rendering issues, paper mache faces, constant crashes. All in all, Cyberpunk 2077 has a few technical issues.
Holy shit, dude. Oh my god, GTA Vice City.
Early trailers of the game said everything is subject to change, and everything did. Trailers show clubbing and a host of other interactive activities. However, it turns out that about half of that was taken from the game's
Yeah.
initial cutscene, and then forgotten about
xqcL.
forever. Trailers also imply drive-by shooting and police
4 years,
pursuit,
heck yeah.
but neither of those are in the game
Guys,
either.
XQC.
But guys, I know some
Happy
videos are like,
4
oh,
years.
I need to play the game, and I know how it was like. They're probably making it seem worse. I wish people understood that it was even the worse than what it showed right now.
2 years
Hey,
holy
guys,
Pac-Man.
I wish people understood that didn't play the game that it was legitimately worth all of this. Some of the quests you couldn't finish them if you can only reload a previous save. Literally, sometimes a quest item will be on the ground and be, hey, it's right there. You would go, and the item is just not there. It's just not, and you have to reload it. It was so fucking
In-game
bad.
areas and promotional material suggest a massive metro system that you'd use to get around
God,
Night
I've been
City.
here a long
However,
time.
all of that was cut out and replaced with a fast travel system. A functioning metro system has since been modded into the game. The 1,000+ NPCs with their own routines are replaced with walking potatoes that literally despawn from the world the second they leave your field of view. They only have one piece of
How you
dialogue,
doing?
can't defend themselves, and seemingly have no driving AI, or any AI at all. The police system? Well, it's not really a thing. Shoot someone in the back of the skull with no one else around for miles? Unlucky. 2 cops have just spawned right behind your back. In any other game, that'd normally be an issue, but in Cyberpunk, literally just run
It's a
5 seconds
feature.
away from them and they'll completely despawn
Yep.
from the world. Nice. Got a car? Even better, because cops in this game can't even enter a vehicle.
We're waiting.
Also, about the far-reaching player backstories, well, they only really change the first few minutes of the game. They also add a few unique dialogue options, but they have little to no effect on anything.
Oh, my
Then
eyes.
there's the wall running, cut, multiple apartments, gone. Non-linear missions, there's 1 or 2 in there. NPC routines, explorable buildings.
Nope, all locked out, nothing.
Okay. So the game doesn't have all the features in the trailers and articles, but it doesn't stop there. The game's baseline features are, well, subpar. So subpar that multiple videos are uploaded to YouTube, showcasing how Saints Row 2, GTA San Andreas, and even Half-Life 1's Cockroach AI is more advanced. Okay, at this point, it was clear. There was only one thing left to do.
I'm gonna ask for a refund.
Refunds, refunds, refunds. Refunds everywhere. CDPR is hit with a meteoric shower of refunds. And the
Oh
game
my
is in
God.
such a terrible state that, against their own general policies, Xbox and PlayStation actually allow them. By the way,
Yeah.
PlayStation has to literally remove the game from their online store to do this. Naturally, the game is memed into oblivion, and CDPR is dragged through the gutter in the press and online for months to come. A few pieces of CDPR's marketing also becomes a lot more relevant. CDPR's stock price also absolutely craters and falls by 50% in a matter of weeks. Dear God, those investors do not look happy. They filed several class action lawsuits instantly. Nevertheless, the game still sells a ton of copies, and massive bonuses are dished out to management within a few months. Delicious. However, a few weeks later, and CD Projekt's PR team comes out of the shadows. Okay, yeah, the game's a bit rough. Here's a roadmap of how we're going to fix it.
Oh, nice,
That
nice.
roadmap slowly changes over time as CDPR fail to hit deadline after deadline, but over the next few months, patches are added and the game slowly improves.
Oh,
Is that
shit.
actual NPC AI? My God.
xqcL,
It takes 6 full months of
xqcL.
patches, but the game is eventually stable enough to be added back to the PlayStation Store.
Oh, wow.
CD Projekt Red have since scaled back their plans for multiplayer,
Oh.
and they're still patching the game to this day.
Chat, I can only imagine the fucking
So CD
netcode
Projekt
and
Red
the
continues
infrastructure
the
that would.
slow
It is,
rollout of
you know.
updates in an attempt to restore the game to its original promise. But whether or not Cyberpunk is ever patched to the point it resembles the trailers of the game, one thing is certain: gamers are done. While there has been the odd redemption, CD Projekt Red was the last straw.
Try it
That
now.
was it.
I think we had,
No
a
more
good, we had a
pre-orders.
good playthrough of it. I'm okay
No
with
more
my
hype
playthrough.
trains. No more anything. The lies were not going to work again. But then they locked eyes with him. He whispers something in their ear about being 4 times the size.
Oh no.
How could they resist?
Why neither?
They'd won again, and they'll keep winning, because they know how to sell you a game, whether or not it's the same game that comes out at launch.
Well,
From where you're sitting,
what
it
if it's
probably looks
Kung
like an
Fu and shit
18-carat
then?
run of bad luck. But the truth is, the games are rigged from the start.
Jesus. Let me see this.